Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Pitch Room Africa. I'm so excited for this episode. So, for all of you who have been listening to our podcast, I want to use this opportunity to say thank you. I mean, we've crossed half year now, and we are just coming to the latter part of the year. And I want to say thank you. And I hope wherever you're listening from, you are enjoying the summer. I am not because it's really hot. But I hope you are having fun and you are enjoying the summer nonetheless. As always, I am your host, Sidi Sako, and I'm joined by my incredible co-host, Esther Richards. How are you doing today, Esther?
I'm fine, Siri, and how are you too?
I am well, I am good, but I hate the English weather as always. All right, so as always, we try not to pay attention to the incredible host that we have full screen because we like the opportunity to just talk about them a little bit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today I have with us Dimiji, who is the co-founder of Photopool. But that's not what is cool about Dimiji. Let me give you a backstory. So I can't remember the year, but there was a time when my wife just saw this photo online and of someone playing with a love sign and everything. And I felt like it was really, really cool. And she sent it to me. Well, interestingly, the man behind that photo is who we are having as a guest today. So he's going to tell me all about that photo and why he made me become so jealous not being able to think about that idea myself. Hi, Demiji. Welcome to the Pitch Room Africa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Amazing.
Um,
So let's talk exact. Let's go exactly to why did you think it was important to do a drop like that? That many people, including myself, got to really experience through our wives and our partners. Tell me a little bit about that movement.
uh, it's quite interesting. It wasn't purported to be a love thing. Uh, I mean, I've worked in the creative space all my life, and I realized the very easy things that befalls creatives. Where we're very quick on the external validation part of what we do. We want people to see the things we're doing. We want people to love what we're doing. We just crave that external validation. And having been on Instagram actively creating for about 2 years, that was 2019. I started creating actively in 2017. I realized how this also happened to me, where I put up something and I'm very desperate to see how well will people receive this thing. That I would get stuck in just checking the insights, going to the metrics, how many people have liked this, how many comments, if it's a video, how many views. And I was quick to realize that this thing is actually killing me slowly. It's reducing my creativity in a great deal. So I took a decision to go on a social media fast or break for about some 3 months. At first, I did 15 days, and the 15 days happened to be one of the best periods of my life that year. I experienced so much freedom. Like I could think well, I could produce better and creative content without the pressure of someone or me thinking, what is someone going to say about what I'm doing? So when I got back from that experience, I shared my experience and my findings, and a lot of people found it interesting, which gave me that first push of, okay, what I did was valuable. People are sort of seeing it. But then quickly, I fell back into that same pattern, which is people are liking my experience from this particular thing I just did. And now I'm craving that attention again. So that's when I realized, okay, this is a problem. So the idea for me was to create a message that will sort of show people that this is just it's just a feeling that you can't shake off, but at the same time, you need to be very careful to control it. So, um, at the time, I just started creating stock photos and I was putting them on pixels, and it just dawned on me. I could just make a message about this. I had created a lot of videos, I've made posts about this thing. It didn't really shake anything. So, I was like, okay, I'm going to use the one thing people can identify easily, which is the Instagram heart like. If you double tap, that heart pops up on your screen as though you liked something. And there is that feeling it gives you when you double tap and you see that app pop up. was like, oh, okay, that's great. Let me use this to create something. So I was in my workspace then in Ibadan, and I just set up my camera and did the first scene like this, which is like I'm trying to reach for the heart, and then which obviously there was no heart there, but I just did that pose, took the photos, and then got into Photoshop and did the manipulations I could do, amplified the lighting, made the art to glow, to show that this thing is what you're trying to reach for. But anyone can interpret it in any way they feel. But the original message behind it was this thing is reachable, but at the same time, I don't think you should have it, because if you have it, it would sort of ruin the way you see yourself as a creative. And in like 6 months, I forgot about it until Indian Times published an article, and that was the cover of the article. Social media is ruining the lives of creatives today. And I was so excited because they got the exact message. And I just decided to search on Instagram, also on Google, and I saw that this photo has been used by over 1 million people actively, which was really mind blowing. So seeing that just made me excited, like, okay, these ideas that I sort of experienced from leaving social media to explore how well I can get better as a creative is being identified for the right causes. And even till today, I get emails of how this image has been really helpful in passing across a particular message. And yeah, that was fun. So that's the very quick story about it.
So basically, for me and Esther who wants to go viral, we should leave social media first alone, right? Like be more, and
I don't think you
then
should leave social media. I think the key is to learn how to control it, like understand why you're there and what you're using it for. Because for me, it was just to be able to reach someone, and at least if my message can get to one person and the person sort of understands it, I think that's fine for me. But I mean,
what
just
was
as it, okay, let me see.
so in total the I don't know what is the technical term of the collection of photos that you put together, but what is the total use today or views or what does the total number says today?
I mean, I could do a quick check, but off the top of my head, it's one of the most used photos that I've created on that platform, and the number of views on it should be about maybe 20 million or more. Uh, and the downloads are really, really great. I mean, I could just check for it now if I could find it. But like I said, the main reason for creating this photo was to just pass a message across to people. It was never my intention to always keep going back to it to see how many people have used it, how many likes or anything. I mean, right now I can't even find it. I just found it, and it is one of the most viewed photos that I have. Um, it's got a 2,000 likes and 20 million views and 123,000 downloads. So far.
So will it be safe to say that you are a model?
I mean, I guess, but
Because I've seen pictures of you in different flyers. I doubt that those pictures are actually, I don't know if they pay royalties to you. Maybe I'll start taking screenshots and be your detective so that we can know how
well,
to go about that. But I see a lot
I,
of pictures that have you in them. Do you know about that?
yes, I do. So, part of what I did was created under the Creative Commons fair use, which means you are not allowed to overly doctor the images. You're not allowed to do certain things that defaces the purpose of the photo that was created. But then anyone can use it, and that was the intention behind creating these things: is that it gives people access to be able to produce really amazing things for themselves using the images that I provided. For example, uh, I'm also an active podcaster, even though I took a 2 year break and I'm starting again really soon. So I created some podcast stock photos, and Spotify has actually used them on their official website, which I'm not charging for that. It's not really a thing that I sort of thought about, and that was never an intention to earn from it. But then, on average, every month from Pexels, I get nothing. I get between $30 to $50 donations, which most times I just give it back into something I'm building for the creator economy. So Yeah, so that's just one of the ways I found it easy to give back to the to the design space, the creator economy. And for me, it is that if these things are readily available, it sort of reduces how much you would have to spend to find high quality stock photos of people of color. It is very hard to find as at 2018, 2019. So me getting into it was quite early. And then the platform I actually uploaded on called Pexels, they reached out and I became an ambassador for them to be able to encourage more Africans, more African photographers, more African creators to also publish. And last time I checked, there's been about 27 different design and creators in Nigeria and across Africa that have started publishing their photos on these platforms. And now there are so many, stock photos of people of color that are really good. So yeah, that's quite exciting. And speaking about what you mentioned about being a model, I don't think I am. If I am, I'll probably be on bigger billboards, I'll be on runway shows and stuff like that. But then just seeing that the stats from these photos are showing my photos being used in entrepreneurial.com, on Forbes, Indian Times, different places. And I think the biggest one for me that I saw and I was very, very, very excited was um, it was just on a NASA page. I think maybe someone wrote an article. I can't remember exactly what it is, but then someone sent me the screenshot. I was like, I just saw you on NASA's page. I was like, what? What do you mean? The person sent the screenshot. I was like, oh wow, that's my picture. So I actually have a small folder where I keep all these things just for
So
reference. I
let
was
me
like,
let
okay,
me let
that's
me let me ask a question. And I know that for our guests that are listening, the first thing that they will be thinking, Omo, Demi Hammer. Because 20 million and the way creators are paid now and everything. So is it that you are so rich you don't want money from that, what you've created, and you're racking up all of the views, or you're so kind that you're like one of the few designers around that don't care about the money? What is the truth? Like, what is the truth? Because
Or
then,
you're neither of them,
yeah,
and
I
you're
mean,
neither here and you're neither here, but you're just you just
just
don't care about those
asking.
things.
The reason why I'm
so
asking this, Demi,
okay.
the reason why I'm asking this, right? Because Forbes and all of these magazines that uses your photographies for articles and stuff like that, they make money
Yeah.
from all of those things, right? Whether you like it or not, they make money. Pixel, where you host a bunch of these photos, and I think you have about 200 million views or impressions, close to 200 million views or impressions. That is driving in a lot of traffic for them,
Yeah.
right? So tell us now. I like, the question I'm trying to ask. So just
So
just give us.
I know what you're trying to ask, and I think the the easiest part for me would be yes, I really don't care about the money. Not like I'm crazy rich or I'm like 1 millionaire hiding behind social media or anything, but um, I understood the struggles of having to build my design career myself without any bit of support, any bit of help. I started designing in 2011 actively, and there was no Nigerian tutor or anything that I got access to. Like they never really existed. It was until maybe 2015 that some orbs and design schools started popping up. And at that time, I had formed a career in design that was really strong, that I was working with international clients. So as I was, and that was 2015. So by 2017, I just started thinking of what can I do to give back to this community, right? Even though I didn't get anything from them, there was really nothing that I could do. And this goes into other things I sort of did outside of the stock photos. So I created a design school at some point, and we're training people, and we trained close to 50,000 Nigerian African youths. Even people outside Africa also joined the sessions. And during those sessions, that was when I realized that these things I did, these stock photos, actually did help a lot of people because within the different cohorts of the sessions we had, I would hear people say, Dimeji, thank you so much for the photos you put on Pexels. They've really helped me in being able to deliver really great results for my clients. That's the kind of fulfillment I saw from this, not necessarily the money. And I could be keeping the donations to myself, like, okay, people are donating for using my photos, but I'm not keeping it to myself. I'm also using it to continue to, build that. I wouldn't call it philanthropy, but it's a way to give back. So I see it as I have two different things that I sort of focus on. I have my job, which is being a designer, all of that outside of what people see on social media. But then I have my life's work, and my life's work really is to at least make the life of one person who comes in contact with anything that I've put my hands into, it helps them in one way or the other. So constantly giving back in my own way is seeing that, okay, creators, designers are using the resources that are provided and is helping them either make a living, either get recognition or whatever it is. But then for the platforms who use these things, the interesting bit is it is a creative within the organization that found these images and used them. So it's not necessarily the organization, took the photos and then used them without a reference on anything. That'll be a totally different thing. And the fact that these images were provided under a Creative Commons, law, which means anybody can use it as long as you're using it for a good use, like fair use, good purpose. It's helping you one way or the other. Um, but I would say that if I ever get to a point where I'm being asked to I should charge for these photos, I wouldn't do that because they were created for a particular purpose of helping people.
So
And
so
yeah,
so with a mindset of with a mindset like that, it's makes me a little bit inquisitive. So tell me about your journey to finding yourself in design, because usually who we are is a representation of our past experiences, and those experiences are combination of childhood and everything. So take us back to the days when back to the days before you became Adami, the designer.
okay. So I think one of my earliest memories of knowing how creative I am was I think I was 7 years old, and my dad and I were driving through. I mean, Ibadan. It's one of the biggest cities in West Africa, and at the time, we had the tallest building in Africa, which was Cocoa House. So my dad was driving through that front of Cocoa House, and I looked up and I was like, one day I'm going to build something like this, and he smiled and I forgot about it. But then when I was about to start preparing for the senior secondary school entrance exam into university, my brother just reminded me casually that, do you remember when you made this statement? And then it all came to me. But then in between all of that, I've been someone who got into very creative things. I was in the band, I could play the flute and recorder, a lot of different things. So I just decided that, you know what, I'm going to study architecture. And that was the only exam I wrote. I got into the school and I started practicing architecture. But learning about architecture gave me this edge over a lot of different people because I understood the fundamentals of what architecture really was and then how it translated into design on a larger scale. And that was when this statement became very clear to me that I'm just a person who loves creating things for others. It doesn't have to directly impact my life, but as long as I can use my creations to also help people, then I'm fine with that. So at that time, I think I was 15. And it just dawned on me that, okay, I'm very good with all of these creative things, but then I know other persons who are trying really hard to sort of figure it out. So what can I do for them? And while I'm helping some people with understanding more about the architecture space, about design and all of that, I started, helping them bring their ideas to life. So whatever it is they're working on, I assist them in making it finer, like or making it refined. And when they're done with their projects, the way I was able to start to make a living for myself at the age of 15 was I bought a printer with uh, some of the things I've saved up from my stipends. And then I established a printing service for architecture students in my university. So as I'm helping them with their ideas and making it refined, I'm also helping them with packaging it to look really good for the people who they're presenting it to. Because I realized that every time I made a presentation, people would really, really enjoy my presentation. They would, be amazed at it. And I was like, I can also help other people do this. So I bought a printer, showed them the different ways they can do it, and then they will come to me to do the printing. So it was pretty much like I was cultivating my clients or my customers. I'll tell them with the ideas, it's refined to them, and then they come to me to have it published or presented properly. So they print, and that was sort of how I started. Like that was the first kind of business I ever did, which sort of translated into more revenue for me at the age of 15. So by time I was 18, 19, um, I just decided to take it a step further. I started providing art materials, architecture products, architecture modeling materials for this same set of students. And it was just very interesting because people saw how good I was in modeling. And then now that I'm providing these materials that I use specifically, because it was quite hard to find. So I had to go and source them from different places. And but at that time, it felt as though if I do this, wouldn't it mean that I'm showing people my secrets and would they get better than me? I don't know. I just discarded that thought like, okay, if everybody's doing the same as I am, it doesn't really kill anybody. Let everybody, pass, succeed, and all of that. So that was the kind of mindset I had growing up. And I was like, okay, this is good. And I did that for another 2 years. And I mean, dollar has changed now, but at the time, the figures I was able to raise by that time, like everything I made throughout that 4 years, was close to $50,000, and that was at the age of 18. So me going all out into life after that wasn't really hard because I'd been able to use my skills or my things I'm excited about, my talents, to sort of leverage some sort of good life for myself, even before I left the university. And then every other thing I was doing after that was just, I would sort of consider it as like service to humanity, if I would say it that way. Because I had some money that I had saved up from all of these experiences. And eventually I built my design studio, furnished it, did the all of the different things, the gears, bought different devices to sort of make videos and start teaching people design. But if I didn't have that experience in the university, that would have been impossible. And it just came from a place of I want to help other persons who are struggling to know what I know, be able to do very similar things that I do. And I mean, luckily it translated into finances, which was good. So I've never been in a place where I'm thinking of ways to make money. It is that if I can serve people, I'm sure one way or the other it will translate into this for me. And I mean, up until now, that's how I live my life. And I would say it's been working fairly good up until now. Yeah. So
Yeah, I can attest to that to a large extent. But one thing that you said that touches me deeply, or I want to ask if you've ever thought about it. As a Nigerian, I wouldn't say African yet. Let me speak to Nigerian. As a Nigerian, what you discovered early is something that I think that should be like a standard for every Nigerian because it will make their journey in life less complicated. It will make their ability to make the right choices less complicated. It will make the lives of their parents less complicated. You were able to discover this early. You were able to start earning early from the things that you knew. So, have you ever thought about this as a gap or as a need in the ecosystem that you can fill beyond what you do in the design space? Have you ever thought about this? That this is something that Nigerians need. I have a teenage daughter, right, and she wants to study psychology. As her mom, I don't see the value in Nigeria right now that she can make some money from psychology, right? Because it's not a top tier skill right here in Nigeria. You be in the hospital or you do a consulting and you have to struggle to get clients or you're paid beneath your paycheck, right?
yeah.
So it's countries outside mine or outside Nigeria that can value that kind of. And I'm thinking, okay, what can she start to do now to begin to earn now that she just turned 15? I mean, it
Right.
was 15 years for you for crying out loud, right? So, I mean, do you think about that as a problem that you can solve, or has it ever crossed your mind that this is something that you need to be able to think about how to help more people at the age of 15? Like my daughter, come into earning, right? So I just
Yeah.
thought to ask that question. If it had ever crossed your mind, I would really love to know.
So it has crossed my mind a lot of times. and I'm just one person, and I can't do everything. But one thing that I would say that I would credit to making all of this possible for me was I had very enabling parents. I remember whenever I said I wanted to do this, my parents would tell me no. Not that they're not strict, but then they gave me this room to freely express myself without feeling restricted. Because I could have said, "Oh, I wanted to study architecture," and they would say, "No, try engineering, try medicine, and all of those different things." But then they just gave me this room to, okay, yes, I was young, I didn't know what I was doing, but then I made a statement when I was 7, and my brother kept it up until when I was about 13, and reminded me that you said this when you were 7, and we've seen the things you've done over the years, and now it sort of connects to that. So, all right, yeah, that's your platform. Go ahead and do it. Uh, so, and which is what I'm also following with how I'm raising my son. So it was a thing that was sort of passed down to me subconsciously. And I saw it that, okay, this is a need, not necessarily for every young person, because not everyone can be like me. Uh, Upon everything that I learned and my parents did for me and my siblings sort of helped me to discover, I explored every bit of my curiosity and I did not stop about it. Uh, there are things that I would mention that. All right, so I'll just say this. So when I was about that same age, when I was doing the whole printing, architectural products and everything, it dawned on me that okay, I'm excited about furniture, furniture design, and I was going to explore that. And in exploring that, I didn't have enough saved up from all of my business, so I took part of my MSc fees to invest in that furniture business. And it felt lucrative because I had done all the designs, all the sketches, was really good. I even put in for a competition and I think I came second runner up and I won 50,000 naira, which was cool. So I've been doing all these kind of things. I was exploring every bit of my creativity then. So, I mean, furniture seemed like the next best thing because I had done a lot of models that people really praised. And I put in for it. And got a carpenter to assist with the building of the of the furniture and everything. And I already planned that I was going to do a display, like a showroom kind of a thing. Everything was ready, but then I had exams coming up in 2 weeks. I was like, let me leave this show display. Let me finish my exams and then focus on this fully. And I've been raising so much buzz about it. After exam, I was going home that day. It was about maybe 5 p.m. in the evening. And I don't know, something was just very wrong with my countenance. So I was just looking around. And then I saw a new store that was opening that had something very similar to what I designed. It didn't occur to me that, okay, maybe that was my design, but it looked very similar. I was like, oh, I've seen this thing somewhere. So when I go home, that was in my mind open. I was like, wait, that looked like my design. Then the next day was Saturday. I went to the furniture guy's store and I realized that he had reproduced every single one of my designs and started selling them. So me doing a showroom felt like it was, I mean, it wouldn't sell anymore because everybody had seen his designs. There was really nothing special about them anymore. And I lost a lot of money because of that. So, and then the only thing I could do was pack up this furniture and arrange them in my apartment back then when I was in masters. And that was the end of my furniture journey. But then I learned a lot from that because I chose to explore a lot of my curiosity, even though it came back to bite me in a way. But then I learned a lot from that. Not many people have the capacity to do such a thing, you know. Not many people have that enabling parent or background that sort of gives them the freedom to do whatever they wanted to do. Like, I think the greatest thing for me was never having to worry about money. My parents were not rich, but they provided a great deal. They made sure that everything was available to a great extent. So I had that mindset of I'm not working to make money. I'm working to express myself and to find what I really want to do in my life. Even though even in times where I would lose money based on investments and all of these things, it didn't really hurt because I had the mindset of okay, I'm exploring something, I'm putting my energy into this thing. I'm going to learn something from it one way or the other. Whether I make money or I don't make money from it, I think I'll still be fine. And I got to a point where I was completely broke. All of this money I had made from the printing and everything, it went away. Everything I made from some part of the furniture, everything, I didn't have any of them anymore. So I had to pretty much start from scratch. And I apply the same principles. I'm doing this thing not to make money. But I think one of the things I would say is uh, if you are ever in that space where you want to push yourself to do the things you really want to do, but then you have that financial constraint, uh, you could like it's an apple and oranges situation. I weighed it, after leaving NYSC, I had to just make a decision. Okay, I've saved up a lot from this NYSC, and I have this amount. I have this access. Should I spend money to get these things or use the access that I have? And what made sense to me was to use the access. But I just wanted to still explore. Can I do this thing by myself without even engaging this access I had? So I moved from Ibadan to Lagos in 2018 December, and in less than 2 weeks, I had spent almost half of what I had saved up for a year. That was when I realized that, oh my goodness, I'm not cut out for this life of wanting to work to make money. I went back to Ibadan, where there was a house that had enough rooms for me to just build different things and explore. So I went back and started exploring and building different things. So I just used the things I had available to me. And then I went back, leveraged the spaces I had, built a studio, and started, design all over again. And that was when I started working with clients within different uh, continents. So people are seeing me on social media or Instagram as the Meiji is a creator. Nobody really knew until I started to talk about it that I was a designer. But then everything I was doing on social media was just a way to explain to people that you can explore your curiosity up onto a place where it starts to set you up for life. I'll give you another example. One of my biggest clients that I ever had before I left Nigeria was someone who found my photos on Pixels. He lives in Canada, he's a lawyer, and he reached out via email and was like, I saw your photos and I think you'd be really good at anything creative. So he said he had a couple of websites he's trying to redevelop and he thinks I'll be good for it. I never put on picture that I'm a designer. I just put thank you for downloading and viewing my photos. That's all. But then he saw the things I was doing and he felt this guy should be more creative than this and then reached out. And that's how I landed one of my biggest clients. And then there was a ripple effect after that. He did something that I never thought possible. I mean, he's also Yoruba, but he lives in Canada. And he said, I know how good you are. You've done a lot of work for me that feels really okay. But then I feel like you can earn more than this. So he said he has a larger network of people that need services like this. And he's going to reach out to them on my behalf. But I was like, can we just do it as a partnership so that it sort of makes more sense? And he said, okay, no problem. So he brings the clients, I do the work, and I tell him what I want to charge. But then he can add his own commission to it. I really don't want to interfere in that. And constantly, I was getting people I was working with, and I was getting paid to do the work I wanted to do the work I wanted to do, and I was getting paid what I really wanted to get paid. And it just came from me putting photos on Pixels. So you can imagine if I didn't explore that part, that wouldn't have happened. So there is no formula to it. The only thing I can say is explore your curiosity. Like there was a talk I gave in 2022, very similar to this, on curiosity as a strength. It has to be something strong about you that you explore every bit of what comes to your head because every idea is worth pursuing. But if you don't pursue it, you don't know what you're losing along eventually. I didn't know that I was going to meet someone like that who eventually opened up my eyes to see the global world and how my design skills could benefit on a larger scale without even having to say a word to anybody about it. So it seems small putting a photo on Pixels, but then eventually it brought a great reward for me.
I've listened to curiosity, and this is curiosity make me ask, right? So this question this question is you've launched Photopool.
Yeah.
It's AI. It's about sharing experience. I've even signed up and
Wow,
creating
awesome.
events and sharing experience and all of that. It's really really cool. What is the future of design with AI in it? Because today we're seeing a lot more powerful model like Mid Journey and becoming better and better and better. Um, how does designers actually fit in? But also, so this is a two-part question. How does designer fit in the, in the face of AI? Or I don't want to say AI is a threat. I don't believe it is. In some cases it is, but ethical from an ethical perspective, I think it's something that we could, all learn to use and optimize better. But the context of my question is designers in the continent in Africa and designers as a whole. What is the future of design with AI?
So the future of design with I don't know. But the one thing I know for sure is AI won't take your jobs. It is people who use AI that will take your jobs, which means that
Hmm,
leveraging it gives you this edge over every other person.
that
And I'm saying
doesn't.
this from a place of experience. Architecture gave me a very strong edge over every other person who was trying to learn design at the time because the fundamentals I learned from School of Architecture set me up to become a really good designer. Like the details I understood, all of those things, my eye for detail, my eye for simplicity, for minimalism, things like that, came from architecture. And I think the same thing applies to AI. Uh, AI should be an enabler or an amplifier to whatever idea it is you have. Over the past, I would say 6 months, I've actively explored, if not hundreds, of AI tools or AI amplified platforms or tools. And I've shared them actively on my platform. I think people will sort of see that. I talk about AI a lot, not because um, it is the best new thing, which actually it is, but specifically because I'm seeing how people are leveraging these things to build things that we never thought possible. For example, I just reviewed one recently, and all it does is it doesn't collect any of your details. All it does is it compresses your it acts like a chief of staff for you, right? And there is no signing up, there is no nothing. Just input your email address and click enter. And then next thing, you know, it starts to, you can tell it to respond to emails on your behalf. You can tell it to schedule emails and a lot of different things. And to me, that wouldn't have been possible without AI because now you have something that can, and even it can do additional research. For example, recently I used it for research. I was going to Belfast for a weekend and I told it, find me the best and cheapest hotels in Belfast. He brought the list. And I was like, okay, compare this with the price of Airbnbs. And he did it. And I was able to see, and through that, I was able to find a very cheap but very, very good Airbnb that I used for my stay, which wouldn't have been possible without that. And it was just interacting as I was sending an email to someone. So a lot of different things. And for me, being able to integrate AI into the solution I'm building, the solution already works. Like it works perfectly. But AI makes the experience better because it changes people from going to, scroll through 1,000 photos to just scanning their face and then it pulls together anywhere they've appeared in that particular event into one folder for them. So you can see how long it was going to take you to look through 1,000 photos. But then in just like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, you have photos of yourself just sitting in one folder for you. That is the power of AI. So AI can enable, it can amplify, but then it can't take away that genius idea you had, that originality that you should actually build on. So, and if you look at anything, everybody is building things, but then what they are building, if they say AI powered, AI just makes it better or makes it faster, makes it more in tune with human use, as opposed to you spending maybe 15 days, 20 days trying to understand just one thing. AI does it for you in less than a minute. So that is the power of AI that I see. There's a lot more to it. And I think we've sort of overused this word of AI. Really, right from the start, it's been machine learning. How can this machine that's been created learn more about what you're building and make it better? So if any designer wants to get better or race against the time with AI, I would say that understand that AI is not here to replace you, but you get replaced by other people who leverage how good AI is and are using it for the right things. I mean, right now, I wouldn't employ anybody who doesn't really have the fundamental knowledge of how machine learning works. Not because they don't know what they're doing, not because they're not good, but because eventually we're going to get to a point where every single job, every single industry will be relying solely on artificial intelligence. Not because AI is going to take over the world or anything, possibly, maybe, I don't know. But it's amplifying how things are happening today, right? I wouldn't want to use AI solely as my personal assistant. But if I have a personal assistant who is really good with using all these AI tools combined, she's a superpower to me. And I really love to have someone like that because I would have to be interacting with this thing myself, which I might don't want to do. But if I have someone who can do it really well, that person would win over my heart easily without even thinking twice because you understand how to take AI and use it for the purpose you want to use it for and achieve your result a lot faster. And that's what I really want. So I feel like I'm starting to see a wave of founders and CEOs who are looking for people like this over someone who has a university degree. It's
Yep.
weird, but that's what's happening.
Yep.
So, uh, and that's how interesting this AI bit is.
Yeah. No, no, no. I absolutely agree with you. Tell us about photo pool. So I'm on the platform already. I'm on the platform. I can see it's asked me to create events and I can search venues but tell us about photo pool and why do you think it's important? It's an important product today.
So, uh, there's this story I usually tell, which doesn't apply to everybody, but then it's actually a true story. So, I was scrolling on social media that particular day, and then there was a post of a woman who said, she had just had a wedding, and the photographer called her 10 days after her wedding to come to one of the hotels that they sort of know. And he said she should come with a wedding gown and her husband. And she was just curious, like, what do you mean? He said he wanted to take additional photos. And she kept asking questions, but eventually the photographer just, confessed. I was like, he's sorry, but something happened to his device and all the photos are gone. And she was like, she doesn't really care about the photos of herself. What she really cares most about is pictures of people who came to the wedding. Like she wanted to see the expressions on their faces, what they felt like. Because you rarely experience something like that. If you've done a wedding before, if you're married and you had your wedding and all, you barely would even notice the people that came to your wedding. But pictures will help you see that easily. But then she didn't have access to any of those. So I scrolled through the comments and I was seeing people saying, I wish it never happens to me. We wish this could be prevented in the future. I'm like, huh. In my head, I'm like, what could be the solution to this? So I asked a few people and they were like, maybe create a Google Drive and send to friends who came to the event that took pictures with their smartphones to share with you. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay, but I don't think it's effective. So they're like, okay, let's even think. What can we build about this? What solution can we build? And being a UX designer, I decided to just talk to different people, interview a lot of different people to sort of understand if this happened to you, what would you do? Or what do you think a solution for this would look like? And we came up with the idea for Photopole, which is more like a digital disposable camera, which is like very handy to everybody and it's on a smartphone. So you just create an event, you share the link with people, they sign up, and then but with a traditional disposable camera, only the wedding guests or only the host can see the photos. Not everybody can see it. So, is it possible to make a product that both the event organizer and anybody who got access to that event can see all the photos that have been uploaded to this particular event? So it's like, okay, that's possible. So we built it out, did a couple of tests, and we saw that okay, this is working. Now let's test it. Do people actually adopt this? And the first place we tested it was with a hiking group here in Scotland. They went to the top of one hill to hike, and about 60 people signed up for the hike. 30 people created an account, and we got close to 500 photos from just one event. I was like, oh, okay, this works. Perfect. Now let's improve on this and sort of see how well we can reduce the friction within using this product. Um, and it's just been 6 weeks of announcing it. And in just 6 weeks, we've had downloads in over 20 countries. Nigeria is the highest, obviously. I'm Nigerian. More of my audience are Nigerian. But then like surprisingly, the US has about 24% within the entire ratio of downloads. There's UK, obviously. There's Mauritius. There is China. There's Hong Kong. Like more than 20 countries users, and we've had over 400 downloads actively, and more than 10,000 photos have been shared. Weddings, conferences, concerts, and
because
this is all done without marketing.
it makes sense. So imagine that naturally when I go to an event, myself, or
You will
let's
take
say I'm
photos.
hosting an event, right? And then
Yeah,
all of my friends even take pictures, and we don't even have a professional photographer available. I would now start asking them, "Oh, can you send it to me on WhatsApp and all of those things?"
yeah.
There's
And then
quality issues.
WhatsApp will reduce the quality. You would have to everything would have to download to your device, clogging up the space on your phone. Google Drive, it might be hard to send these links. So the only thing that made sense was, okay, let people have individual albums within the app, and they can save whatever photo they want. You don't need to have access to everything, right? And then when we realized that, okay, this is working, people can upload, people can see photos, they can have their own stories showing up on the top bar. How about making it easier for people to find pictures of themselves without having to scroll too much? Because we sponsored a conference that had over 500 participants, and they shared a lot of photos. So you can imagine, I'm scrolling through 10,000 photos. I'll get tired. But then, what if there's a feature that just scans your face and then pulls photos of you from the entire. And then what we realize with that is there are even places where you took photos and you don't even know that they took a photo of you. And then you're seeing those pictures and it looks really good. So it helps to reduce a lot of friction. And that's pretty much why that was built. And now there are a lot of other use cases, right? The intention was to build something that would help professionals, do their thing. But there were seeing people use it for weddings, for bar mitzvahs. Someone actually even used it for a baby shower, which was really cool. So, um, yeah.
I think that's very amazing. I mean, when I first saw, I first saw the post from you on LinkedIn, I was like, oh wow, this is fantastic, and I'm like, okay, great. My next event, I'm going to try out Protocol and then give you my own feedback. I'd like to say that your journey for me is very inspiring. And why I say it's inspiring is because everything you said today validates how I think about my life's work. It's opposing to the worldview about the concept of work. It's opposing to how things are meant to be done. But what you've said today has validated my thoughts, have validated what I think and I believe about life. Experiment, 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 get better, give value, serve people. Don't. It's just beautiful to see that there's somebody who actually thinks the same way. Now about photopol, I know I've seen a couple of posts about you raising funds. If you get into an incubator or accelerator platform and trying to raise funds. How has that journey been? Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? How has that been? I mean, it is one thing to create an incredible product that people love and use. It's another thing to get funded to be able to, grow that product to where you want to take it to. So share a little bit about your funding journey with us.
Uh, I won't lie. It's not been the easiest because this will be the first. I mean, this is not the first time. I sort of did a little bit of fundraising with the design school, but then this is very new in a way that is even very interesting to me because um, I mean, I'm not a natural speaker or leader, but I had to build that up because I barely learn. I barely can face people, on a larger crowd until recently, like maybe some 4 or 5 years ago. And now I'm in a place where, because of the way I've sort of built my career through social media, even though behind social media, I have a solid career that people don't even know about, UX design. But as a creator, creative, I understand how creatives think. But then it's quite interesting to me to understand how investors think or how business people think. You know, you're thinking in numbers, you're thinking in reach, you're thinking in traction and impact. But then, creators think in, impressions, we think in, people liking what you're doing. It's not enough. People need to see, is this thing actually working? And outside of it working, what kind of results are you generating right now? And that's been the best thing for us because it's been 6 weeks of actively launching Protocol, and there's been traction without marketing, like without any form of marketing. Everything has been organic. And just thinking about that, I just thought, like one of my co-founders was like, "This is our selling point." We've done this without any bit of marketing. This is what it looks like right now. So if you come in now and we then do the active marketing, imagine how big this would get and imagine how much it would sort of translate for you. And just learning more about the world of finance, the world of investment, I just started to learn that one-on-one interaction is quite important. From all the pitches I've done, I've barely gotten any reception. But then most of the investor relations I've done recently have come from one-on-one interactions. Like, okay, I talked about this thing, and then this person was quite interested, and then we started talking a lot more. And then they're starting to learn more about my personality and my experience and my background. It sort of gives them this trust. And then one person said to me recently that I think the one of the major reasons, which outside of the product you built, one of the major reasons why I would invest in your company is because I've seen what you are like as a family man, and I think you're someone that can handle, our money well. It didn't make sense to me because I was like, how does that really relate? But then I just thought about it. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is the effect of building a strong personal brand and a transparent one for that matter. And that was what I was doing for founders even before I became an active founder myself. I was helping people build their personal brands in such a way that they can have access to investors, to business owners, to win their customers over. And then now it's helping me because someone is like, the main reason why I would want to invest in your company is because I can see you as a family man and you're quite responsible in that aspect. So you can handle a business well, you can handle money well because we can see how you're handling your family. And I never say everything about my family, it's just snippets on social media. So um, for me, even I'm learning a lot more. I've entered two accelerators, recently, well, still in between getting finalized in Texas. And the only thing that has really been helping is relationship, like a great deal. Like I'm talking to these guys, I'm sharing like updates with them, and I'm actively, even though I'm not a social media person, because I make videos on social media doesn't mean I'm a social media person. You will rarely be able to reach me if maybe you don't have my email, if you don't have my phone number, or if you don't know someone that knows me very, very closely. So I'm having to break out of that when it comes to fundraising because you have to be readily available to interact with people, to speak with people. And that's been the most interesting part for me. But outside of all of this that I've said, one thing I'll say that in fundraising has taught me is it's not really about how much or how big the money you get is. If you get big money, but then you have zero network or zero, community, you will still end up not having anything. But then imagine in a space of 2 weeks, 7 people have recommended me to different places that I know I'm getting into these places and I'm set for life with this business. It's amazing. Even though we've not raised anything, right? Knowing that there is a pool of people that are really strong within the ecosystem that I can turn to or call on and come to my aid at any point in time, that's invaluable. So
Yeah, Dimeji, before City takes over, I'd like to ask you quickly about your relationship with your co-founder. First, how many do you have and what's the relationship like? Because we know that the co-founder relationship and founder relationship is more like a marriage relationship. There has to be some kind of synergy, some kind of connection, some kind of plus and minus that comes together to create some level of balance. Can you speak about that journey? Because I know that that can largely make or mar photo pool, like the quality of people you have in the organization and how, maybe you're feeling we should go left, this person is feeling we should go right. How have you been able to weather that, knowing that you are more like an introverted person, right? How are you able to open up to share deeply about your vision, your dreams with this one person who's not your wife, and you're able to navigate the challenges that come with managing protocol?
So uh, I have four other co-founders, and there are two technicals and then two full-on business, and I just oversee the entire team and do the I sort of plug in my UX design experience, my marketing experience with social media, and sort of lead the entire team. And I think one thing that is most important is the communication part. Yes, there are ideas flowing, there are thoughts, there are visions that I have, but then I know these people to be people who have wealth of experience in their individual spaces. So I don't spill over into theirs. But I think one thing that I would say has really helped is in my conversations with them, I always try to listen to them, right? Because there are things that they say, and left to me, thinking about it myself, it would open up to me, but not in so much detail. So when I'm listening to them, I can really pull from their experiences, from their relationships, from their networks into one place. And I think the easiest thing I would say that has really helped me with Photopol has been knowing that these people are readily available for whatever it is, even though everybody would have, we all have different commitments to different things, right? But as long as we're on the same page when it comes to these things, and I think I've learned to actually get really good with documentation. So nothing is left out of the loop. Everybody is following up on all of these things, and so I mean, it shouldn't be to your surprise, but the interesting part, AI has made this significantly easier for me because I'm not going to any meeting without an AI assistant pulling up all of the details, the minutes, all of that. So the moment we're done with the meeting, there's transparency. Everything is being popped up to everybody. The dashboard is clear. Yeah. So it's just really, really interesting. And um, one other thing that made Fodopo really solid is at a point where the founding members were really trying to get on board someone who would really catapult the growth in terms of marketing, product development, and all of those things. It took them a couple of months to find someone, but then my wife had the first interaction with the founding members, and they sort of talked about me, but I can't remember what they talked about. And the lady studied me for, I think, some 5, 6 months, but not like she was talking or anything. She was just going through my pages and was really watching the things I was doing. And then by the time, we got to meet, and I was like, we believe you will be able to do this. She was trying to convince the other members, but then one of the other members happens to be the chief product officer, said that, oh, I know Imeji. I've seen his design days, I understand his journey. I even use his stock photos on Pixels. So he was trying to convince them that I think no, don't tell me this guy is right. I know he's the right person because I've seen his journey and I know how it works. And these are people I've never met before. Um, so the journey has not just been about my experiences or anything. It sort of connects into all of the other things I've done outside of my experience as a business person, which makes it really interesting. So our communication, I leverage all the tools I've used in this my life, all the experiences I've had, putting it together and then listening to them. They all have, I mean, there's a 3-time founder within the board, there's a 2-time founder, there is someone who currently has worked with different companies and is a full-on engineer who works with one of the biggest companies in Europe. So I can't just sit down and then be forming like, okay, yes, I'm the CEO, but these people have like way different experiences that if we really combine them, gives us a really, really good space. And yeah, I'm exploring every bit of that to the fullest because I know these people are invaluable, and without them, nothing can really work. So
Amazing. Listen, it's been a privilege to learn about your journey, AI designs, photo pool, and the amazing image that I it was my first experience with you. But I'm also conscious that we have gone past our time, so thank you so much for bearing with us.
yes,
That's
it's
how
all
you
right.
know it was a good conversation. That's how you know it's a good conversation. You didn't even know until I said it. Like we could have
I
gone
mean,
another.
I could see the red thing showing on the screen, but it didn't really
That's how you,
register. Like, oh,
that's
it's
how
so
you know
long.
you're a good conversation. But in closing, as we come to a close, I have actually one final questions for you. One final question for you. It's a little bit of a controversial one, but I'm going to ask anyways.
All right.
I know there have been a lot of different thoughts around this, which is the idea that our best talent are leaving the continent through different routes that have been set up by the US, the UK, Germany just launched one. So the UK have the global talent visa. You probably know about that. The US has theirs. Um, so there's a mass migration happening, and most of the immigration set up by countries in the West is specifically set up in such a way to give creatives and tech people, or
Yeah.
technical people with technical skills, to move overseas. How can we ensure that, as much as we're moving to away from the continent, we don't leave a hole because for every time a creative leaves, there's a gap in there. How can we ensure that, as collective, as Africans collectively, we don't leave a gap even as we migrate? But how can we also build this an environment wherein, instead of creative running away from the continent, a lot more people will look at going into it?
Okay. So I would say my ecosystem journey with creatives, everything is relatively new. I've been a lone ranger for the longest. I wasn't really connected to the design community in Nigeria, even though I knew a few people in there. But like 80% of my work wasn't something I could talk about. So I didn't openly declare that I'm a designer, even though a few people knew. So I didn't really get to experience the some of the pitfalls and all of those different things that were happening then. But then I got really interested a few weeks ago, and I started to learn a lot of different things that I was like, this is quite heartbreaking because mode of survival has sort of become really difficult for a lot of people, and it just dawned on me. But then everything I've built today, or I've been privileged to build, happened when I was in Nigeria. It didn't happen here. What's happening here right now is just, based on the effect of everything that's been built in Nigeria. And I think, and I'm very careful to say this, I feel like a lot of creatives within the continent would prefer things handed to them than actively pursuing beyond what they see within that space. It's okay to remain there, right? But are you thinking farther than where you're at? I mean, at the age of 18, I was already working with international clients. And that was because I realized that with the level of my skill, it's not readily affordable where I'm at. So would that now mean I won't be able to fend for myself? No. And I sort of used the different access and connections I had within the people I had in my network to sort of reach into that market. And by the time I got my big break with the clients that found me on Pixels, it was very easy because I already built something that made it easy. I mean, at that time I even had thoughts of leaving the country, but I was like, there's no point. If I can build it here, why do I need to go over there? And if I'm doing that over there for them and I'm sort of getting the reward here, it helps me live better here. But for me, having to move was strictly based on family. If I was still a single guy or I didn't have intention of getting married, I wouldn't leave Nigeria. That's just the truth. Um, but one thing I would say to anybody who is thinking of leaving or who has left and is sort of finding it one way or the other is whatever it is you're building, wherever it is you are, make sure it's contributing to a solution to fix something where you're current, like in your home country. For example, 80%, like about 30% of the people who use Photopol right now are Nigerians. I witnessed a civil wedding like some 3 days ago on the app, and I was so excited. I was like, "Wow!" I've seen a lot of different events. There was a guy that did the largest painting, and it was a world record event. The event happened on the app as well. So yes, the solution is helping people within that space, and it's free for now anyway. So it's a lot of different things, and I feel like if you can just let your ideas go wild, but at the same time find a way to connect it back home, yes, you might not be doing the greatest thing ever, but you're contributing to one thing that is solving a problem. Uh, if it is your intention to leave on the merits of giving back, not because you just want to leave and never return. I mean, I'm going back definitely. I don't so much like it here, but it's all right.
Speaking to the incredible Oladimeji, who is the co-founder of Photopol, but also most of you might, I mean, I'm using the word might because if you are not part of the 200 million people that have seen his work online, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. But it's been such a privilege to have this conversation with you. Ola, it's been really, really incredible. Thank you so much for being here for joining this conversation.
It was great being here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.